True peace is not merely the absence of tension.
It is the presence of justice.
When people who are different than each other can come together and find some common ground, that is what peace really means to me.
Peace is very hard to explain, but I think it's when you're able to become content in your environment.
For me, peace means like when there's no fights between religion. When people just see people for who they are instead of defining them by their religion or like their color, skin color.
It's finding commonalities. It's finding commonalities and making them our focus, not how we are different.
For me, it's tranquility in the midst of calamity.
So I would define peace as, I guess, things existing like harmoniously with each other.
You cannot have peace without justice, but it doesn't work the same way flipped around.
I think if we just have justice in our world and it's like a fair and square game and it doesn't change for every single person at every single point, I definitely believe that we can have a very peaceful world.
I think justice is necessary for peace. Justice kind of creates the area of where people have a fair way to talk and a fair way to communicate and a fair way to discuss issues.
I think peace is necessary for justice. If there is peace, then people will understand the justice. Even if it's not right for everyone, they would still believe that it's right for most of the people.
I really believe that peace is necessary for justice.
If we have a just society, I think peace will be a lot easier to obtain.
I believe that there has to be a certain level of justice just because of the way our society is set up.
If there's justice without peace, that can be disastrous. That can be someone just punishing lots of people and people are afraid to speak out. But when there's peace with justice, someone who does something wrong gets punished, but people still feel safe to speak out against something.
I think a lot about my experiences in South Africa. We interviewed a lot of people the same age as me who grew up in the born-free generation. One thing that they would say is that they don't even care about getting justice anymore, that there's no way to obtain justice. Some people aren't going to get their homes back. A lot of people aren't going to get their time back, but learning to remove the tension is something that is important to them because their country is still so fragmented.
Performing acts of kindness. And that's like a huge thing that I love doing in today's society, especially on campus. Even just like a random student that I don't even know their name, I'll ask them, what's your name? Like, my name's Ashley, nice to meet you.
I can create peace in my world through understanding and understanding why people think the way they do, I guess, and knowing their intentions behind what they say or what they do helps me to feel as if I'm more connected to them, like I understand where they're coming from.
The best way for me to help the world and spread peace is to educate people. I think communication is key, and I also want to become a teacher. My plan is to go get an education here and then go on to teach other people how to communicate peacefully with one another. And that's how I think I can spread peace.
For me, I think the greatest way that I create peace would be letting things go. I like to not dwell on the little things and focus on things that really truly matter, and I find that brings peace to myself. And when I have peace within myself, I feel it's a lot easier to spread peace and make peace among my friends and family.
The first step to having peace is accepting what's going on. Once you accept the problem, then you can figure out how to eliminate it or totally get rid of it so you can ultimately have peace.
I see everyone as human beings. Even if it's a girl or a guy, I would compliment them. It doesn't matter. That's how I create peace, just by smiling every day.
Sometimes you have to fight for it. Like, and not like physically fight, because I'm not doing that, but like protesting or calling your senators and doing stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a war. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a crazy protest. Like, it could be a dialogue.
So the more honest we are, the easier it is for people to understand our true meaning of what we mean and stuff. Flip side of that is also being open to honesty and not being overly offended by what someone honestly means or what they say.
It's hard sometimes for people to realize that their way of thinking isn't the right way, because no one's is. We all think differently, we all believe different things, and that's okay.
It becomes like second nature once you love yourself to love everyone else. It becomes a lot easier to do that.
Getting involved in the community is definitely something that promotes peace and communication.
If we can just have like equality for everyone and just like no discrimination and like absolutely like we're treating people as people and not as anything else.
Today's a new day to make a change or make a difference in the world, and that's what I try to do. So
I feel like once you level the playing field, then you can bring about the peace.
I think what it takes to arrive at true peace is having open conversation about our opinions and about our realities and what we face as people. Because the better understanding we have about each other, the more likely we are to be peaceful.
To create peace in our community, we have to love people first. We have to love people despite how they treat us. We have to love people despite of their race, their ethnicity, their culture, wherever they come from.
when you learn to love yourself and when you learn to be happy with your inner self, I feel like you can spread that to any person on this earth.
And I say to you, I've also decided to stick with love. But I know that love is ultimately the only answer to mankind's problems. And I'm going to talk about it everywhere I go. I know it isn't popular to talk about it in some circles today. I'm not talking about emotional bosh when I talk about love. I'm talking about a strong, demanding love. But I have seen too much hate. I've seen too much hate on the faces of sheriffs in the South. I've seen hate on the faces of too many Klansmen and too many white citizens, counselors in the South, to want to hate myself, because every time I see it, I know that it does something to their faces and their personalities. And I say to myself that hate is too great a burden to bear. I have decided to love.